you're talking about dimensions, you're talking about mathematics.
Well, that applies to how we describe space. So we live in a three-dimensional world because it takes 3 numbers to specify where you are in that world.
Right. So that's the operative. You see what I'm saying? You giving me the operative example. There's speculation and then there's operative. You're giving me the operation of dimensions. That's the operation of dimensions. The speculation of dimensions is based off of numerology the same way you're saying it, but it's basically saying, oh, if I give you the first
numerology.
I know it's the same thing though. This is another language. Like math is another language, and this is how we understand dimensions. So if you're giving me something and you're telling me, oh, we're talking about one-dimensional beings, as in we're speculating the life of one-dimensional beings, you're using the archetype of what one means. One is one, which is it's talking about it's something that got one move. It's got one thing it's doing. It's moving in a straight line. You see what I'm saying?
It means to be one-dimensional. A one-dimensional being would just be a being that's restricted to move along a single axis.
Right. So I'm saying one-dimensional beings are cellular life forms. That's what I'm saying.
Except they're...
You shouldn't say that.
3 dimensions, right? They have 3-dimensional...
No, I'm not saying that we can't see them from the 3rd dimension as in like with the telescope. But I'm saying
quite literally 3-dimensional objects.
No, of course from our perspective.
From their perspective, they have length, width, and depth.
Okay, so what does can I say what do the cells do? Give me an example of what the cells do. Like list 10 things cells do. Like
tell me why you thought a cell was one-dimensional.
All right, put it like this. You remember when you were living inside of your father, right? And you were a cell, right?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, can you speculate it? You see what I'm saying?
You're asking if I remember it.
Well, I'm sure you can speculatively think about it.
Do you have memory from?
Okay, I'm inside my father's what's that thing called? Not the epididymis, but the epididymis. Right, I'm inside my father's epididymis.
Right. What's
going up the vas deferens?
What's the only thing that you can do? What's the only thing that you're doing?
Wiggle my tail.
Wiggle your tail and move where? One line to where?
The vas deferens.
That doesn't make it one-dimensional, though. That's not what one-dimensional means.
No, listen, bro. Listen, I told you that's the operative definition of it. I'm giving you the speculative.
You're just making up a new definition for the word dimension.
I'm not, bro. There's speculative, and then there's operative. There's the way we speculate things to work, and then there's the way it works when it's in operation. There's a difference. So what I'm saying is cellular life.
You're just describing metaphors with way more terms than are necessary.
Also,
listen, you gotta let me.
Michael, I'm just curious. Where are you getting this stuff from?
I think about things, bro. I think about things. I don't get my knowledge from.
Like, I wonder where people get stuff like this from. Like, it's just
meditation. But just check this out, bro. Just check it out.
They convinced themselves that they learned something, that they figured something out.
I could, bro. If you let me explain it, I could actually explain it in a way it would make sense. So, just like we were talking about, the cells that make it to the egg cell, they have one job. They go in a straight line. They're doing one thing. The cells that keep your heart pumping, they got one job. They're doing one thing. They're keeping the heart pumping. The blood.
They're doing so many more things.
Cells will metabolize. They'll reproduce. They will consume. They will digest. They will sense. Cells do a lot of things.
I'm not saying
I was in charge of doing the taxes when I was in my father's.
I'm not saying cells don't do different things. I'm saying that there's different cells that do different things, but specific cells do one thing.
All of those things.
No, cells, yes, cells do a lot, but I'm saying
a single cell does all of those things at the same time. That's what it means.
Like, your argument is like, look, a locomotive has all these different kinds of motions, but it moves forward. Yeah, fucking great. What does that mean? That's the operative definition of what one-dimensional means?
Bro. All right, so what's your example of a one-dimensional being?
There aren't any one-dimensional beings.
So what you're saying is everything doesn't have its own life. Like everything is not,
Oh my god, dude. You need to stop. You need to look at other people's ideas and stop coming up with your own.
bro. So you're basically saying every cell in your body is you, and it's all thinking the way
That
you.
has nothing to do with what it means to be one-dimensional. That has nothing to do with conscious experiences being non-physical. That has nothing to do with anything.
Bro, what I'm saying is,
Bro,
your cells. You're not thinking about it, bro. Your cells
We are.
all have
you're
their own.
thinking too much about it.
No, I'm not. This is simple. Every cell has its own individual life force. It's all they die, replenish every day. Like they're all individually alive and they're not you consciously. You're not conscious of what they're doing. They're doing their own thing. A skin cell can't do what a heart cell does. It does
I
what a
agree with that.
Yes, and a heart cell cannot do what a worm cell can do. A worm cell
Yep,
is
I
turned
agree.
into an egg cell. So what I'm saying is, yes, cells have multiple jobs, but there are different cells for different things.
Yeah,
and
I
they're
know
all,
that.
And they're all doing the one thing that they're supposed to do.
Yep. What does this have to do with consciousness being non-physical?
I'm not saying, okay, that is leading up to like higher dimensions. I'm starting it at the bottom. And what I'm saying is,
But you're not starting at the bottom.
But you're
You're
not.
wrong.
None of this is one-dimensional. You just said that a cell doing something is one-dimensional. No, nobody uses that term that way. Again, you're just talking about metaphors and using this like these extra terms in a way that's so unnecessary.
no, what I'm saying is, dimensions exist inside of dimensions. That's what I'm really getting at. You see what I'm saying?
No,
Maybe think of it.
Go jump.
nothing you said was
All right.
was a justification of that.
All right, maybe think of it abstract. Let's just think abstractly for a second, Michael. What's the difference, abstractly speaking, from a circle and a sphere?
A circle is one dimensional.
It's two-dimensional.
No, it actually is one-dimensional.
A sphere can be three-dimensional.
All right.
No.
So is a cell more like a circle or more like a sphere? You think?
From the perspectives of a cell, they're spherical. So what you're saying is, from what you're saying is that they're three-dimensional. But I'm arguing because they live in a three-dimensional being, they're one-dimensional.
I don't know. That sounds like
Makes no sense.
it sounds like you're just contradicting yourself.
No, listen, an organ is two-dimensional because it's made up of
No.
a bunch of cells. But
Oregon is a state.
an organ, like your heart, like your thyroid, like your third eye, like your pineal, and all those are glands. Those are
Mike,
things.
I need
Those
to interrupt you. In order to go from one location in the heart to another location in the heart, how many dimensions do you need to traverse?
Say that one more time.
In order to go from one location in the heart, like in order to go from the top right posterior part of the heart to the bottom left anterior portion of the heart, how many dimensions do you need to traverse?
The organ itself is two-dimensional. I don't get the question. Like, there's not multiple. Like, okay,
You
so
don't get anything.
no, listen. When you learn how to speculatively think, you start to be able to think.
You have
outside the box.
convinced yourself of your own bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about.
No, I'm not finna sit here like I won't pass like the insults, bro. Like, I know what I'm talking about. You just
No,
haven't
you
thought about
don't.
Problem. Here's
So,
the thing.
so let me ask you this: do humans see in
Okay,
3D or do we see in 2D? Do we see in 3D or do we see in 2D?
Do we see? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that because
Like when you're looking at
what
things,
is
do you see it in 3D or do you see it in 2D when you're looking at it?
we can perceive the depth of the field of or the depth of our environment, but I don't know what it means to see in
When you're
3D.
looking,
I mean,
go,
technically we have
Full
stereoscopic
retinas.
vision, so I would say we actually
we-
really do see in 3D.
The images formed on our retinas are two-dimensional. We have two-dimensional representations, and our brains use that information to form a three-dimensional model.
Boom. Simple. So you in 3D and you see in 2D. You in 3D and you see in 2D. So how do you think two-dimensional beings?
I'm sorry. We perceive in three dimensions. We see in two
Bro,
dimensions.
it's because we can see the light refractions and we know how to see curvatures with depth perception. But when you're a two-dimensional being, how do you see? You see in one dimension, right? Because you're a two-dimensional being.
There are no two-dimensional beings, though.
All right,
There's
no.
no such thing as a two-dimensional being.
Okay, so if there's no dimension as a two-dimensional being, then what's the fourth dimension? Why are we talking about the fourth dimension so much now in science?
We talk
Why
about
think there's
time
third
being a fourth
but not
dimension.
a second dimension, but there's a fourth dimension. Make that make sense.
No, there are four dimensions. There's not a second dimension. There's not a third dimension. There are four dimensions, three of which are spatial and one of which is temporal.
So there's three dimensions. There's not nothing that's two dimensions. There's not nothing that's one dimension. But
Our
there's-
universe has three spatial dimensions. Yeah.
Name those.
They don't have names. There's just three different numbers that you have to specify to figure out where you are.
So basically, there are three different directions, right?
Yep.
So what I'm saying is there's another perspective where you can see something with another direction. And when you're in something that's made out of three directions, then you only can move in two directions.
At the same time?
Yeah, if you can move forward, back, left, right, up, down, that's another dimension. Okay, but when you go inside of something that's moving like that, you can't move the way that thing is moving because you're inside of it. So you don't have as much space, which is what he's talking about. So if you're
Your motion can be restricted to a two-dimensional subspace. That's totally fine, but that doesn't make you two-dimensional. It just means that your motion is restricted. It still takes three numbers to specify where you are in the universe.
And this tells us why a sperm swimming up a vas deferens is moving in one dimension.
He just said if something moved in one line, that was one dimension when he was describing the dimensions.
I didn't say move. If it takes exactly one number to specify where something is, then the space that thing exists in is one-dimensional.
Right, and cells moving from the male to the female are moving in one direction. They're moving one
I didn't say
number.
anything about direction. I said how many numbers it takes to specify the location of something.
Why are cells moving between sexes? How does what?
Because that's a
Well,
cell.
when a man panda loves a woman panda very much, they usually don't have sex anyway.
Yeah. I was gonna say.